Hello friends, I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. Today I am reviewing Cascadia, a game from GBG Games and Flatout Games, designed by Randy Flynn with illustrations by Beth Sobel. This is a lightweight, family weight, whatever you want to call it, game where you're basically laying out tiles, a little bit of a tile builder game, and then you're collecting animals to put on those land tiles. And you're going to score points in various ways based on what the animals want and based on how you've built up your land area in Cascadia, the northwestern part of the United States, where these animals reside. This game won the Spiel des Jahres last year, 2022, and has been a hit pretty much around the globe ever since then, as far as I can tell. I'm going to go ahead and give you a brief little overview of how to play, and then come back with my gizmo thoughts. Alright, so here we have the game set up for 2 players, but really this is the same setup for 1 to 4 players. The game plays 1 to 4, and it plays the same at every player count. In a solo game, for those of you interested like myself, basically you're just playing to beat your own score, but whatever you take off the board is going to also remove another pair, and we'll get into how it plays and how that would kind of work here right now. So to start with, every player has a 3-part hexagonal land area that they start with. The orientation of it doesn't really matter. Just put it out in front of you. I have one for me and one for my opponent over here. Then, on a player's turn, so let's say I'm first, all you're going to do is one thing. One very simple-ish thing. And that is to select from the pair of land tile and animal tile from the available display. So there are 4 laid out on the display, and my job is to just take one pairing, one combo, and add it to my tableau. How I choose is relatively important, because your tableau is going to score from similar land styles, and there are swamplands, grasslands, mountain lands, forest lands, and waterlands. And the animals, they score in various ways depending on the animal type. Just in the base game, and there is an expansion out, I believe, currently, or it's coming out shortly. I'm not exactly sure on the timeline. I haven't played that, and I don't know what all it adds, so this is just base game only. And in the base game, you get 5 different animal types to choose from. You get foxes, hawks, elk, salmon, and bears. And those are going to score various ways. Each one has 4 different scoring cards, but they're all going to score similar to what kind of animal they are, because the animals are the same animals regardless of the scoring card. For example, foxes generally want to be alone, so the various scoring cards are pretty much going to score for foxes not touching any other animal on the tableau. Hawks score in much the same way. They don't want to be around other hawks, but usually they want to be in some vicinity of other hawks, and usually the more hawks you have kind of separated in one way or another, the higher they're going to score. Elk do like to be together. They run in herds, so what you're going to do is, depending on the scorecard you have for that game, put them in some kind of herd organization, which is going to score more and more points based on the number of elk in that herd. Salmon are similar, but they're going to be swimming up a stream usually, so they're usually going to want to be in kind of a line moving along your streams, but not necessarily. It's kind of weird. For example, this one, this card is a grassland and swamp, but it can score fish. But in general, they're going to kind of form a line and then score based on how many in a row or what's next to them or whatever the case is for their cards. And then bears run in families, so generally they're going to score for pairs, triples, or quads of bears touching each other on the board. So I've skipped ahead to the scoring a little bit, but that's because I want you to know how to best choose on your turn. Because on your turn, like I said, all you're doing is grabbing a pair. So let's say, for example, I grab this pair here. I can then add this tile anywhere. The only stipulation is it has to touch on a long side. The long side, you can't touch point to point. And I can't just throw it out wherever. But the land that's on it and the land that's on my starting tile or any other tiles currently in my tableau don't matter, except for the larger land area you can amass, the more that land area is going to score. Plus, you get bonus points if you have the largest land area of each of the types. So maybe I want to put this one here. But one thing I want to keep in mind is the animals that are required to fulfill that card, that tile. For example, this tile only takes elks and foxes, as indicated by the icons on the tile. So I could not put any other animal but an elk or a fox on that tile. So I do want to be cognizant of how I want to set up my puzzle of animal placement. And then because I took the fish, the only place I have currently that a fish can go is right here. I'd place that here. And now the fish owns that tile. Even though this tile could have held an elk or a hawk too, I've now made that a fish, and that's the only thing that'll ever go on that tile in the base game is that fish. And that would be the end of my turn. Then the next tile would come up, and we'd grab from the bag the next random animal tile out, and it would pass to the next player. And the next player, let's say he wants to go ahead and start working on his bear family. So he's got a bear tile here, and this one comes with a bear on it. So he's going to go ahead and put that next door too, and try to get this bear family going. Again, this would flip, refill, and new animal would come out. You just keep playing around like that until you run out of the stack of tiles to add, and that's when the game would end. Couple other things to mention before I move on to final thoughts are the little bit of rule breakers. Some cards have only one animal that goes on them. All of those, when you place the animal on it, so let's say on my next turn, I went ahead and grabbed this tile here with the bird. I stick the bird on that marshland that holds only birds. I would then get this acorn. The acorn is worth 1 point each at the end of the game, so if you just want to start racking up single animals and earning acorns, that's every time you do it is a free points. However, the acorns let you to break a couple rules. The first thing an acorn can do is allow you to wipe the animal board. Maybe you don't like the animal layout. You can wipe them off, draw 4 new ones out. The second rule it allows you to break is it allows you to crisscross what you pick up. So maybe my partner has an acorn. He's trying to get that bear, but he doesn't want this elk tile. Maybe he wants this tile. He could pay the acorn and then crisscross his selection, taking that tile and that bear. Then you would again just replace what's missing and move on around the board. And that's basically everything you need to know to play. There are a couple little minor other stipulations, such as if the same animal, let me cheat here, is on the board 3 or more times, the player could freely wipe that animal and then draw out some new ones without having to pay an acorn, just so that way you have a little bit more of a selection. And those, I think, cover pretty much everything. After that, again, you're going to score for every animal based on the scorecard in play, and every landmass based on how many or what your biggest connected area of each is. So if this was how I ended my game, I would score 3 points for connected grasslands, 2 for connected swamps, 1 for forest, mountain, and stream. And then if I had the most of either, I would get the bonus points depending on player count. The player with the most points at the end of the game wins. All right, so let's get to my gizmo format for Cascadia. What do I think of the gameplay? I like the gameplay. It's quick, it's smooth, it's easy, but it has enough thinking points. You got to think about how you want to organize your land, not only based on the land itself, but based on the animals that can go on that land, because again, the puzzle is getting as many points as you can from scoring the animals and the lands. So you really need to be cognizant of setting yourself up for points with land and animals every time you make a selection. Not only that, but you want to be aware of what your opponents are doing too, because if they're looking to score real big for a hawk and there's one hawk out that you know they're going to grab, maybe you just steal it from them because you could use a hawk on your board, but also more importantly, they would get like 7 more points from one hawk. And so you could net 10 points by gaining yourself 3 points for the hawk and costing them 7. This game, it has a decent solo mode. You know, the game plays the same every player count. I said that already. In the solo mode, when you take a pair of things, you're getting rid of the longest pair that's been out there and then sliding, you know, the tiles over before you draw 2 new ones out to select from again. So you're kind of playing against yourself on the board and then just playing to highest score, for those of you interested in the solo mode. This game also comes with an easy and medium family mode, where basically the scoring is super simplified. based on just you count the animals of each type and you count the land of each type, I think is the simplest version. And then there's a medium version where the animals aren't as complex to score. I've not played with either of those. My daughter has played just fine with the normal game, I think the one time we've played it. But those do come in standard in the game, so that's a nice variety. It basically allows for any player of any age to play some version of Cascadia. Ingredients. What do I think of the ingredients? I think they're decent. Decent quality cardboard, good little wood tokens, art on one side. I wish the art was on both sides. It's just kind of annoying to flip out a tile and to know there's an animal on it, but you've got it, not animal side up. And I guess that would have been a lot more cost to print them on both sides, but it would have been nice to have. I like these cards. They're decent. You don't really do much with them. You shuffle them real quick and then you throw them down just for the scoring cards, but they're still decent cardstock quality, better than some games where you're actually actively using the cards. The artwork, Beth Sobel does a great job getting nature in her art style. That's what she's kind of known for, is nature, and this is a nature game, so this fits the Beth Sobel art style to a T. I like it. It's clean, it's nice, it's presentable, and yeah, that's the art, the ingredients, I guess, altogether. Z, is it easy to play? I've covered this already, but yes, it's easy to play. You're just selecting a pair of tiles, putting them down where they can go, and then counting points at the end of the game. That's where the complexity comes in a little bit, is just knowing how to score each animal and min-maxing, getting the best score you can. But the gameplay itself, you can teach anybody. Like I said, it comes with a family mode too, so nothing complex about this game at all. Nice, easy, fun, family-friendly, good solid game. More of it. Do I want more of it? And here's where we're going to gig it a little bit. I enjoyed playing it. When I first got it, it was the hot game. I played it. It had fun with it. And we still have fun pulling it out. But it does kind of get a little samey after a while because you're pretty much doing the same thing in different order. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I don't mind pulling it out and playing it. But it's not something I'm always looking for playing anymore. That might be just because of it being lighter weight and I've got other games to try and play. Or it just might be I played it so much when I first got it that I'm just kind of wore out from it. I like it. I enjoy playing it, but I don't know that I'm reaching for it as much as I was last year when it was the hotness. And that probably has more to do with me than the game because it's a good game. I'm happy to introduce it to anybody at any time. Originality. Is it original? It's kind of original. Grab tiles, score points for tiles and placement. Not super original. The theme's okay. Animals of Cascadia area. The art and it all works together. But nothing about this game screams super originality. But that's not a gig against the game at all. It's still a fun family-friendly game. I've said that a bunch. But I don't think it's super original. There's plenty of tile placement games and, selection placement games out there. And everyone knows there's a ton of animal games out there. So that's basically a quick rundown of Cascadia, of how to play it, and my gizmo thoughts of it. My final rating for Cascadia falls at 4 out of 5 gizmos. Again, it's a good, solid game, easy to teach, easy to introduce to people, fun to play, quick to play, doesn't take more than 30 minutes to an hour, depending on player count, and everybody usually has a good time figuring it out and playing it. So I like it. It's a good, solid game. 4 out of 5. Nothing bad about it at all, but nothing that to me personally screams out super great either. It's better than average, and that's a 4.5. All right, so there you have my rundown of Cascadia, the Spiel des Jahres winner of 2022. Quick little run through of how to play, and then my thoughts in the gizmo format with my final rating. Comment below what you think of Cascadia, where you think I'm wrong or right in my opinions, and what you enjoy about it the most, and other games I should check out that are like Cascadia that I might not have tried already. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe below if you haven't. I'll be back nearly every week with a new video. I do reviews, I do discussions around the board game industry, top 10s, you name it. I cover it. I generally focus on family style games such as this and solo games such as this. But I personally like heavy Euro games too, so I like to look at those from time to time as well. I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.